Welcome. We are Group 2 and today we will be presenting the GreenCross Precinct as our proposed urban planning intervention. Our site is located in Hatfield, Pretoria, extending east from Jan Shorba Road to Hillcrest Campus between South and Prospect Street. Through our site investigation, we identified multiple challenges and spatial elements that shape the key design principles guiding our intervention. One of the primary issues we observed is the repetitive facade of the site, which lacks inviting spaces for interaction. This highlights a lack of diversity in the urban environment. Additionally, the landscaping appears to be an afterthought in certain areas, with unmaintained green spaces. While the existing tree-lined roads provide a soft protective barrier for pedestrians, this feature is inconsistently implemented, limiting its potential to create a safer, more inviting environment. Currently, the site lacks open spaces and incentive for movement, failing to encourage people to engage with and utilize the area beyond its basic functions. Many pedestrian pathways are damaged or inaccessible, making public spaces feel uninviting and merely used rather than actively interacted with. Another key challenge is the restricted nature of development, which primarily caters to a specific demographic. South Street, for example, is dominated by single-family homes, creating a stark contrast with the medium-rise buildings on the other side of the road. This division reinforces the sense that part of the site is frozen in time, resistant to evolution despite the area's growing needs. However, the site holds significant potential for transformation, whether through repurposing existing infrastructure or introducing new developments. To guide our intervention, we identified the following key principles based on site visits, mapping, and research: diversity in building types and spaces, sustainability in the urban environment, incentives to encourage engagement and movement, open public spaces that foster interaction, accessibility to promote pedestrian-focused movement, development intensity that supports growth, and adaptability for future urban needs.
The current development patterns of the site reveal a lack of integration between the four key urban design components. In particular, there is a disconnect in the relationship between green landscape elements and the broader urban fabric. The site suffers from a shortage of open, accessible green spaces, while also containing neglected or abandoned areas that contribute to its fragmentation. Green spaces has the potential to serve as connective elements, bridging together otherwise isolated areas and enhancing the overall cohesion of the site. We will build on the broader group presentation, which establishes the integration of architecture, landscape, infrastructure, and public space. The strategies identified within each category provide a focused response to the site's unique conditions. By structuring the approach around these principles, the intervention seeks to refine and enhance the urban fabric. While categorized under separate headings, these strategies overlap and inform one another, reinforcing a holistic urban vision. To refine our approach, we distilled these strategies into three overarching themes that drive the design intervention: sustainability, effective development, and comfort. At the core of all three themes is a unifying element: green. Whether through ecological preservation, sustainable infrastructure, or the quality of public space, the presence of green is a constant. This guiding principle informs every decision in the intervention. With this in mind, we introduced the name of the intervention, GreenCross Precinct. This name embodies the fundamental goal of the project to create a connected, green, and cross-disciplinary urban intervention that harmonizes architecture, landscape, infrastructure, and public space.
To establish a foundation for the interventions, 4 key precedents were analyzed. These precedents were chosen for their urban quality, spatial dynamics, and sustainable approaches. 44 on Stanley, Johannesburg demonstrates the potential of mixed-use developments in fostering active and engaging urban spaces. Narrow pedestrian corridors, open spaces, and buffer zones for pedestrian safety inform strategies for integrating movement, activity, and public interactions within the intervention. Forest Walk Shopping Centre Pretoria prioritizes walkability and human-centered design. By incorporating green barriers and interactive space, this precedent illustrates how a balance between movement and rest can create inviting public environments to enhance a user's experience. Hazelwood Village Pretoria emphasizes softening building edges, fostering a seamless relationship between public and private spaces. Its pedestrian-focused, effective wayfinding and emphasis on conceptual and physical boundaries inform strategies for accessibility, circulation, and social interactions. Chongming Island, Shanghai, presents a model for sustainable urban planning. It emphasizes on compact, walkable urbanism, transporting networks, and integrating with organic farms, aligning with the principles of ecological sustainability, resource efficiency, and urban resilience. Beyond these primary studies, 8 additional precedents provide insight into more specific urban interventions. Each was selected based on its overarching principles and successful real-world applications. These studies focus on creating interactive spaces, optimizing pedestrian flow, fostering dynamic activity hubs, and designing public spaces that encourage social interactions and engagements. To further develop specific aspects, these next 2 studies examine how particular interventions have been successfully executed elsewhere and how these principles could be adapted to the site. Effective use of green spaces and parks explores a hybrid approach drawing from 3 key precedents. The resulting concept balances formal structure with organic fluidity, incorporating a central axis leading to hidden, neutralized retreats, blending symmetrical hardscapes with softer ecological elements. Sustainable extension of building heights examines mass timber constructions as a method for expanding vertical space with minimal environmental impact. The study references the primary takeaways that vertical expansion requires an assessment of structural capacity and load-bearing solutions. When necessary, additional columns or retrofitting supports can be integrated to ensure safe and efficient extensions.
The conceptual framework guiding this intervention is built on the principle of connection through green, sustainable development. The design process was rooted in strategic early analysis, beginning with site planning principles that laid the groundwork for spatial organization. Initial considerations focused on key designations, maintaining existing buildings where possible, identifying and connecting green spaces, establishing density and intensity of development, shaping the user journey, creating a distinct identity, implementing stormwater strategies, prioritizing pedestrian infrastructure. The design evolved through an iterative process of sketching, modeling, and discussions, refining spatial relationships and functional arrangements. Ongoing precedent research continued to shape the approach, ensuring that each decision was informed by real-world applications. From initial conceptual sketches to the final intervention, the process was guided by the integration of sustainability, effective development, and comfort, reinforcing the project's overarching vision. The first key element is green space. The site's parks, recreational areas, and circulation corridors double as biodiversity nodes, enhancing ecological value. Urban farming is a major focus, ensuring food security and sustainable land use. A retention pond reinforces water-sensitive urban design, revitalizing surrounding greenery. Programmatic zoning plays a crucial role, clustering related functions into active nodes to stimulate vibrancy. This ensures a logical and efficient distribution of activities across the site. In terms of existing versus new buildings, the intervention carefully retains key structures while introducing new developments in strategic locations, ensuring minimal demolition while enhancing the built environment. Movement strategies emphasize pedestrian prioritization, Vehicles are restricted to controlled access routes, while pedestrian pathways form the backbone of connectivity, fostering a more human-centered urban fabric. Green infrastructure extends beyond open spaces, with green roofs, permeable pavements, and planted walls improving urban cooling and water management while reinforcing sustainability at multiple scales. Finally, the intervention creates diverse public spaces of varying scales, ranging from large civic plazas to smaller pocket parks and intimate gathering spaces. A high-density node integrating mixed-use towers with repurposed existing spaces, emphasizing pedestrian connectivity and social interaction. A transition from high density into a more human-scaled environment, integrating mass timber construction, adaptive reuse, and open green spaces. At the heart of this strip is a rectangular green space, offering an organically arranged layout for comfort and recreation. Inspired by Bishang Ang Mo Kio Park, it incorporates seating, shaded areas, and soft transitions, creating an inviting, flexible use space. Additionally, a key green corridor emerges here, starting from the Sassel Garage in the southwest, establishing a continuous pedestrian movement path that will ultimately extend northward through the site. The highest density section of site, integrating residential towers, office spaces, a multi-level parking base, stormwater retention, and public transport connections. A new bus stop intervention connects the site directly to LC campus, reinforcing the Loop Link BRT precedent by prioritizing public transport integration within the urban framework. A self-sustaining urban agriculture program combining educational facilities, productive green space, and an integrated pedestrian network. The Green Spine, a continuous pedestrian corridor, reaches its northernmost point here, uniting the entire intervention through walkable, biodiverse urbanism. A reconstructed campus gateway incorporating a more formal arrival sequence, enhanced pedestrian connections, and new recreational spaces. At the eastern tip of the intervention, the road system is restructured to create a more grand entrance into LC campus. The sports clubhouses on site are rebuilt in a way that enhances the pedestrian experience, framing a natural amphitheater for formal gatherings and events. The former road is reimagined as a pedestrian boulevard. This intervention ensures direct and intuitive movement between LC campus and the northern portion of the site. Additionally, sectioned green areas in front of the clubhouse buildings soften the transition between built space and nature, creating a layered, human-scaled entrance into site.
The cross-link commercial intervention densifies the Jan Schauber node, creating a seamless urban transition between Hatfield's student culture and the emerging professional demographic. A continuous 2-floor retail base provides an active street edge, while corridors on ground floor and bridges on first floor ensure pedestrian flow without disrupting vehicular movement. Above, 3 office towers establishes a connection between student life and young professionals, responding to the broader Hatfield ecosystem. These towers contrast with the existing Duncan Yard and Convention Centre, creating a diverse typology. Duncan Yard is repurposed as a cultural and social hub, prioritizing cafes, restaurants, and art-related shops. The removal of a portion of the existing road enables the formation of a pedestrian square, reinforcing the pedestrian-first principle inspired by Loftus Park, Piazza Matteotti, and Forest Walk.
Moving inward, the timber corner intervention extends existing buildings vertically using mass timber construction, allowing for mid-rise, mixed-use development without extensive demolition. The ground floor is redefined for student-oriented programs, such as cafes, study spaces, laundromats, and printing services, ensuring continuous activation on street edges. The building facades are laced with occasional green walls and lattice structures for plant climbers, while a greenhouse on the northern-eastern part of the corner serves as a primary structure in the intervention. Timber Corner embodies a context-sensitive, sustainable, and human-centered urban strategy. By extending rather than replacing existing structures, It creates an incremental, low-impact densification model that responds to both contemporary urban challenges and long-term environmental imperatives.
The high-density core integrates residential towers, office spaces, and transit with a multi-level parking structure supporting an elevated office park to optimize land use. A stormwater collection system begins at the site's western high point, transforming into a retention pond that shapes pathways and building placements, inspired by Mokyo Park to enhance resilience and public space. Urban farming becomes a key infrastructure component, reclaiming vacant land on both sides of Prospect Street. A dedicated urban farming trade school supports education, research, and workforce development, following Chongming Island's model of urban agriculture.
The East on South intervention on South Street extends the heritage-based adaptive reuse strategy, inspired by the integration of old and new seen in Hazelwood Village. Extensions are made horizontally rather than vertically, preserving the scale and feel of the existing buildings. The focus is on revitalizing the space for food-related functions, contributing to a vibrant, pedestrian-friendly environment.
This process highlighted the complexity of integrating multiple urban systems and how planning extends beyond architecture to shape entire environments. It reinforced the importance of balancing density, sustainability, and connectivity to create functional, future-proof cities. We would refine architectural details and expand planning strategies to a broader urban scale, ensuring better integration, adaptability, and long-term impact. Further exploration would strengthen the project's sustainability and stakeholders' responsiveness.